This is Professor Groves, and this is Math 133. This is for the Week 3 homework, and students have said they had trouble with a couple of concepts. First concept students said they had the most difficulties was with z-scores and how to interpret them. Well, a z-score, if we create a normal graph, okay, and this concept is going to be very important to understand. And the mean is 0. A z-score is the number of standard deviations from the mean. So that is a z-score, is the number of standard deviation it is from the mean. And to calculate a z-score, you have z is equal to whatever your data value is minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. So in this example right here, and we are working on homework problem number 4 from the week 3 assignment, the mean monthly rent for students at this university is $890. So the mean, and you're going to learn that the mean is called X bar, is equal to $890. So that's the mean. The standard deviation, and a lot of us will just abbreviate it SD, and it's going to be represented with the variable S, sometimes SX, is $206. So that is the information that you were given. Now, John's rent is $13.95. And what is the standardized score? And round your answers to 3 decimals. So we want to find the z-score, and this is our x value. Okay, how far from the mean, okay, is John's rent? And the mean is $890. Okay, so another normal graph you're going to see is if we take the mean, which is $890, okay, John rent is $1,395. Okay, so how far off is John from the mean? Okay, so we use this formula. X is 1,395 minus the mean, 890, and that is all divided by the standard deviation, 206. So the X value is 1395, the mean is 890, the standard deviation is 206. So you use your calculator. 1395 minus 890, and if you haven't taken math in a while, then you might forget this, that you have to figure out what the numerator is. So the easiest way is just hit enter, and you get 505, and you divide that by 206. Okay? And it says 2.4514. Right? So the answer, because they want 3 decimals, remember this is where you're going to round. Okay? If it's 5 or more, you round up. And since it's a 4, then the z is 2.451. Okay? And what that means is we'll just say 45. The z tells us that we are almost 2.5 standard deviations away from the mean. So this is pretty far from the mean. We're 2 standard deviations away. Okay? And so if you would take your calculator, well, what does that mean? If I take 890 and the standard deviation is 206 plus 206, that's 2 standard deviations. Okay, that's 1302. And adding another half plus 103. Okay, so that's what it means, is that standard deviation, okay, there's about 2.5 of them away from the mean. So, is this an outlier? Okay, we go back to this graph here and shade this and shade this. Okay, so outliers, if I have a z that's greater than or equal to +3, or a z less than or equal to -3, those are outliers. So an outlier is plus or minus 3, we'll call them z-scores, and aka standard deviations from the mean. And so in this case right here, it's 2.4. So this is not an outlier. If it was 3.4, then it would be an outlier. Okay. It was 3.1, it'd be an outlier. Okay, so we've answered part A, part B, and now we're going to answer part... Hello class, I'm back. Seems like part C was cut short, so I'm going to be redoing it for you. So part C is how high would the rent have to be to qualify as an outlier? So we talked about outliers. If the rent is over 3 standard deviations above the mean, that's considered an outlier. So we have our z calculation, and an outlier is going to be 3 standard deviations above the mean. And we're going to go back and use this formula, and we want to find the rent. That is our x variable. So we don't know what that rent is, and we're going to solve for it. Minus the mean, which is $890, divided by the standard deviation, which is 206. And now we solve for x. So if you remember your algebra from high school, this will be really easy for you. So the easiest way to solve this problem is we're going to cross multiply. We're going to multiply these. So we're going to get 3 times 206. And since this is over 1, we're just going to have this equal to x minus 890, because 1 times this is going to give us that. So then we're going to get our calculator. Okay, so 3 times 206. So that is 3 standard deviations. 618 x minus 890. Okay, and that's 618. So that's 3 standard deviations. And then remember that to isolate the x, you're going to add 890 and add 890 to both sides, because 890 minus 890 is 0. So now you have your value of x. And to find that value, you're going to take your 618 and you're going to add the mean value of 890, and that is 1,508. So John's rent would have to be $1,508 or higher to be considered an outlier. So John's rent is only $13.95. Anything that is bigger than 1,508, okay, anything that's bigger is an outlier. Okay, so I hope this has helped you understand how to calculate z-scores. Right? What a z-score means. It's how far you are from the mean. And to identify that it's an outlier, it has to be more than 3 standard deviations from the mean. And if you want to identify what the value is to be an outlier, then you have to use this equation, substitute the z for 3, and solve for x. Now, before I end, I want to give you another couple other tips on doing your homework assignments. Here you'll notice that you have some tabs on the side. This one is your ebook. And so if you have questions, you can always go to your ebook to answer those questions. I highly recommend you print each of your homework problems and you take notes so that you are prepared for the final exam. And so I would print these, take your notes, put them into a 3-ring binder, and then you'll be ready for your final exam. Also, on occasion, you're going to see that there's a video. And so you're going to want to watch that video. So in the future, if you have questions, make sure to write questions in the discussion board under the help. And please put a short description of what your question is so in the title so that other people can see how I'm answering questions or how other students are answering them. Have a great day, and we'll